I think we should start with QDK and Naruto's introductions, right? Like, I mean, I'm really fascinated to be talking to two Anons today.
I
Yes,
mean,
I have met Sandeep sir, but I think I have not met Anurag sir.
you do realize you work for us, right?
Yes,
Just
yes.
a reminder.
Okay, Kyodeki, you wanna start?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So yeah, glad to be here with two really big stalwarts of our community. Today we have Sandeep from Polygon joining us and Anurag, as you guys all know, the co-founder of Avail. So this is going to be a spicy hot takes today. So happy to have all 350 of you here. And let's kick it off. So, for today's hot takes, we kind of really want to talk about unification and how we are united by blockchain, right? And what does it mean in the future for all of us, and how do we kind of plan on making it even better for everyone in Web3? So joining us today is also Naruto, who's the co-host along with me. Just a short intro on me. I am a senior R&D engineer at Avail. I've been here for 8 months now. And Naruto, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm a DevRel here, and I started recently, probably like a month ago. So I'm the newest, one of the newest additions to the team, and really excited on what we guys are doing. Quick introductions from Anurag sir and Sandeep sir. Like, can you go on with? We all know about what you've been doing with Polygon and Avail, but like just for new listeners, what you guys have been up to, what's the future look like, and all those cliche answers.
Yeah. Yeah, first of all, call me Anurag, and I think Sandeep prefers Sandeep. So,
No, no, no.
he
I
will,
prefer Sandeep. I prefer Sandeep sir.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I feel,
yeah.
Sandeep
Okay,
sir, then
so
Sandeep sir.
Yes, sir, it is.
we'll call Sandeep
I think
Sandeep
like
sir.
for the context of the listeners, like we should tell them that this basically comes from a Indian college culture, especially engineering college culture, where if you are a junior, if you're a junior, you call everybody who's senior than you. Like if you're in first year, anybody who's second year onwards, you call them sir, and then their name. So you can't call
Yes,
them with the name. And
for
I also
sure.
come from the same breed, like Naruto, in that sense. Like I feel really uncomfortable. Like some of my, it's so crazy that some of my seniors eventually ended up joining Polygon. And even when I am in a like let's say a meeting, team meeting or whatever, or even in the many times like somebody we are external meeting also, I call them as like let's say Amit
Sir,
sir, somebody,
yes.
like Ajit sir, and then everybody is like why Sandeep is calling himself, and many of them become popular. Then their name is actually then everybody is calling them XYZ sir. That so yeah, that's a funny tidbit. So
That's
I
right.
No,
prefer
that's
yeah,
true. That's true.
Naruto from you. I prefer Sandeep sir only, bro.
For sure, for sure. You got it. You got it, sir. Yes, please, a quick introduction. Anurag sir, you wanna go first?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, been in the space since 2017. Of course, like me and Sandeep and JD together founded Polygon, which was known as Matic Network back in the day. Still remember the three of us working out of co-working space in Navi Mumbai in India. Uh, but yeah, before that, I spent probably like 11 years or so in like fintech and other industries. Also did a startup before this, for example. I was also doing a startup actually before doing Matic. But yeah, spent about this is my seventh year in crypto. Spent a lot of time in here building a lot of stuff at Polygon, and now building Avail. Avail, for those of you who don't know, was started within Polygon back in 2020, and we spun out of Polygon last year. Yep, Sandeep.
Hey everyone. I am Sandeep. Like as Anurag mentioned, that co-founded with Anurag and JD back in the day, 2017, and Polygon, which is Marina Robo, and I even though I also come from a computer science background, but like since I had both JD and Anurag with me, and later on Mihailo and other our technical giga brains, I have been focused on the ecosystem building. So I many times call myself the chief community manager of Polygon. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
Yeah, I think Sandeep tones down his achievements a bit, but I think he's a good software engineer and routinely involves himself in architectural discussions as well. So yeah, yeah, I think you should give yourself more credit.
Yeah, I mean
Like, yeah,
that's very Sandeep sir.
that is also like a interesting part for us, like because many times when I speak to the devs who want to build on Polygon, and I say like, hey, I am from the business side and all that, and then we go into deep technical discussions, and then later on like it helped us a lot with Matic Network or then Polygon, that I will have a very deep discussion with them. I'll tell them 2 3 issues in their architecture or whatever, and then I say that, guys, I'm sorry, like but I am not the tech guy. Let me call JD and Anurag and all that in the next meeting, because they are the tech people. And then they are like, who is this team? Like, where if the business team is talking like this, what would be the technical team? So yeah.
Yes, we have a question for you about that later. But QDK, you wanna go with your questions?
Yeah, it's something I've always wondered. I mean, I've seen and met Sandeep, Anurag, and JD in person, and I really have been wanting to know, like, how exactly did you guys meet? Like, because it seems like such an unlikely trio, right? But you guys came together from Matic Network back even when I joined. It was Matic
Right.
Network.
We met at dating websites, all of us.
Which one?
Shadi.com.
In India, it's called WhatsApp.
That's
Yeah.
true.
No, actually, it's actually, I would say like there's a lot of randomness to the three of us meeting. I would say, like in retrospective, right? Like, I mean, I think JD and Sandeep. I mean, Sandeep, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you guys were in touch with in WhatsApp for some time before. Like actually starting Matic, but I actually was doing another startup at the time, and I joined this co-working space where eventually Matic started. And I was actually doing another startup, and coincidentally the same day or maybe around the same time JD also joined, and we got to talking, and then he told me to kind of like join. He basically pilled me on blockchains. I ended up reading a bunch of books, including the Mastering Bitcoin book, and I just fell into the rabbit hole. And then he said, asked me to join, and like Sandeep also like at the same time was talking to. Actually,
Yeah.
there's a funny story there. Actually, like if you
So,
remember Sandeep, I think it was
yeah.
Sanket. Uh,
Yeah, I remember.
uh,
Like, so basically, for me and JD, what happened is that I used to be like a admin in a group which was an early Bitcoin group in Polygon in India, right? So Bitcoin Mumbai group, and we had some meetups and all that. And I and Sanket, like who's also at Polygon, we used to be the admin, and there were one or two other admins also. And then JD also joined that group, and then JD was initially JD reached out to me because I in the Indian crypto, like this thing, whatever small community, because I was the admin also. So JD also saw that, okay, this guy knows something about technology, and then he's there. So I and JD talked before JD was building Dagger. You remember, Anurag, where Dagger was
yes,
like
yes.
indexing, or not even indexing, basically event catching tool. And I don't even know, like maybe JD was looking for investment at that time and all that, and I said, like, this Dagger product, maybe it's not monetizable and all that. And I also had my own thing going on and all that.
So it
uh,
didn't have anything to do with blockchain, the dagger.
no, Dagger
No, no,
was
no.
blockchain.
Okay.
Ethereum events catching, like
At the time, Ethereum didn't have like good like subscription support, like the RPC, like the WebSocket subscription support, and Of course, now you have first class support there, but at that time it didn't have support. So if you wanted to kind of need a subscription, like Dagger was primarily a event subscription
Yeah,
software.
and it was very good. Like a lot of people had a very good, opinion about it and all that. But I thought that this was not monetizable. And while I was doing my own, like, kind of services startup, I was building few smart contracts, and like there were a few small exchanges also for them. I coded and all that. And then, but then I realized that I have to go into the product side. Like, I did not come here to do like this. Although the money was really good. At that point, right? Like compared to where I came from. So then I started looking more into the products. There were few product teams I was also speaking, and then JD, I saw that JD is doing something in Plasma. So I said, and obviously around that time, CryptoKitties had happened already. So one of my clients who was building a referral, and it was very stupid, but like we were building because this thing that one of the client was building a referral marketing scheme on blockchain, right? So every referral is noted down, and I said that there is no way that this kind of gas fees you can run this thing. So I also knew that scaling is a big problem. When I saw JD doing that, and I said, like, this is the thing we should speak with. And my, like, how I got introduced with the Anurag is like JD told me that Anurag is like someone I met in the co-working, what Anurag was saying. And I told him about the Bitcoin blockchain paper and all that. Like I told him few things, and then not even next week, like 3-4 days, he came with like the full reading of the white paper, and then he even read 2-3 books, and he already understood everything. And he said that we need to have like this guy also with us. I'm like, I was also very impressed at that time. Like in 2-3 days, I think Anurag read like one full book of 1,000 or like 500 pages or something. Maybe it was like 3-4 days, but it felt like very short time. So that's when we connected, and then yeah, rest is history, as they say, from there.
I don't know why I thought like you guys went to like same college and stuff. You know, like how major startups happen that you guys go to a college and then you meet again later in life. You do that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's understandable. So like related to the same thing, another question is like, what were the key moments that solidified your whole friendship and like the partnership while you were working with the Matic network, while you were building the Matic network in the first? What were like your major moments when you were doing it, when you were starting first 12 months?
I think I think we actually struggled a lot in the earlier days. I mean, not people, a lot of people maybe don't know, but we actually were raising funds for the longest time in 2018, right? Like we barely scraped through with minimal funding raised from friends and families. And so it was a very really hard time. And like 2017 we started, 2018 we didn't have, like we had some funding, like in the grand scheme of things, like actually it was pretty small. And I think the hardship that we faced and the all the clever hacks that we had to do during that time, right? Like, so I mean, you have to kind of like gel very properly, otherwise like things can, startups are pretty brittle. They can break pretty often if the founders relationships are not good. And in the earlier days it was like just we just wanted to make it, right? Like, I mean, before Polygon, of course, all of us had decent careers, I would say, but like not breakout ones. And so I think one thing that was common was everyone, all the three of us, and of course the broader team as well, where this bunch of people who wanted to kind of make it, do something bigger than. And so I think that period of time, like 2018 was, which I would say, like we went through a lot. And like I remember, I mean, like random things, Sandeep, if you remember, I went to that VC guy in Goa, for example, like
Yeah,
who was on vacation, and I just cut short a trip and went to pitch.
yeah,
And Goa is this place in India where it's like a vacation place in general. And at that time, like Bitcoin was probably hovering around 6,000 or something like that. And so he made a commitment uh, to fund us, but the price went down to 3,000 like 2-3 days after that, and then he reneged
And
and then,
Anurag, like this is actually, yeah, like I mean, this happened with you, and this happened like it was 3 days or 4 days before my marriage. I went to China. I remember that, went to China. They also confirmed, and then by the time I came back and they were going to wire, like, the BTC had dropped by $3,000 and all that. And yeah, I mean, I think Anurag had a personal tragedy also around that time. So we were going through a lot of like tough times in that time, but like somehow we survived. But one thing is, like, between us, I think, like, between the team, we had a very good culture of like joking around, right? Like, so everybody is always making jokes. Like, I remember, like, that place where we used to work for when the very early days, as a place where we'll always be like, there'll be big issues happening, but we'll always be joking around things and all that, and that, okay, it will survive someday.
Yeah, I think I've heard that story of you, Sandeep sir, that you went to the Hong Kong, I think, uh, around your marriage or something like that. From someone I cannot remember, but this was around East India.
Yeah,
So I remember that story.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, yes.
Imagine, like, you come back and then you are thinking, and then I also say I was very stupid at that time. Like, whatever funding we had, I kept that also in Bitcoin, right? And then, like, that day, on the marriage day, I'm thinking, like, how should I tell my because I was managing all this finance and whatever. Like I said, like, Anurag and JD, you go and fully focus on building, and I'll do all this other stuff. I'll manage. And then, how should I tell my wife that, the funding is not coming, and the funding we had is now cut by half? How should I tell JD and Anurag also that this is happening? And yeah, it's like really
Okay, okay. Just a follow up on that. How did Anurag and JD, like, take it when you told them that, oh, the BTC that you invested is cut into half,
not
like the
invested, not
prices.
invested. We received the
You
money.
you received the funded, yeah,
I
yeah.
received in BTC. I kept it in BTC, and then,
Yes,
that.
you didn't off ramp it. So how did, like, the team took it?
no, I
To be
think
honest,
actually,
uh,
yeah,
no,
no,
no. To
no.
be
I
honest,
mean,
I did not tell anybody. I said, okay, I'll get the help. And then I think after that, like, we had to almost, like, maybe it was before that or after that, I don't know. I think before that. Before that, we had to almost, like, Anurag, you remember, like, we had to beg another founder, and
yeah, yeah,
ask 50K. That, okay, we have a very small burn, like 7-8K per month or 10K per month. I was like, give me 50K, and then, so that we can survive for 3 more months, and those kind of things were also there. Yeah,
yeah. I
but
mean,
this,
I think that founder who gave us the 50K, that was like a, like we couldn't get that 50K. I mean, just imagine 50K at that time we couldn't get, and somehow that founder was very kind to us and wired that, and that saved that. Actually, I think that was the only time where we got to near death. Is
yeah, yeah,
what.
yeah. Yeah, later on, because after my marriage and all that, like, markets started coming back, and we had a good Binance DD going on, so we knew that, maybe we'll get something, and markets started coming back. But this is basically what we are telling you is basically the peak of the peak of the bear market. Like, this is when the global funding in all crypto projects, including like apps, infra, everything combined, went to, for a particular month, it was only $10 million. For a whole quarter, $10 million got invested. So you can imagine, like, nobody was getting funded. And this is also $10 million went to one particular project.
Yeah, and right now companies are like raising 10 million in just seed rounds, So that's we have come a long way on that.
Yeah, true. But I think, like, for
Nice.
Indian startups, like, still, like, the situation is much, much better. Like, it's not like this bad. And obviously, I think, like, Polygon also played a little bit role in that, but still it's not that thing. Like, you are still, we are not, like, Indian founders are still not taken as like valley founders level stuff, but yeah, but still much better.
Yep.
I think that's definitely true. I think we know that Sandeep has a standing policy that if it's an Indian founder, he has to invest. I don't know how many people know it, but
Yeah.
that's what he has said.
I ended up investing like maybe 150 or 200 companies, and yeah, like very few of them like really let. And this is the story I always tell in the Indian East India and all that also, that you need to Indian founders need to start learning more about storytelling and marketing also, because we very focused on tech and utility and all that. But I think crypto space is still like very mimetic in nature, so you need to have that kind of skill. Yeah.
That's very interesting, actually. I think on that front, I just have another interesting question to
I
ask you
have
guys.
I have one question with you, QEDK. When you were choosing your anon, like, didn't you think that how will people pronounce it? How's it pronounced actually?
That's exactly how we chose it.
So painful, bro.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I want to
Um,
I want to dox you fully right now by taking your original name, but I'm not taking.
that hurts, Sandeep. We left on good terms, but
Yeah.
I think it was
We changed.
inspired by the.
Can I
By
call
the
you
way,
LED?
we
Yeah. There is a TV like LED TV who used to be there. I think there is some ad of QED TV also.
Yeah, I think we're talking about the QLED TV by Samsung. It
Yeah,
hurts,
yeah.
but okay.
By the way, like fun fact is we created the email address for QEDK in his original name initially, but that put him at risk of doxing. So then we had to resort to QEDK at
Yeah.
like
I don't know.
emailaddress.org.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Very nice.
Sandeep knows all about it.
Yeah.
But going back on the topic of not getting doxxed, I think both of you are like not doxxed at all, right? I think that's an interesting approach, and we do kind of see a lot of these companies, like let's say Blast as an example, that do have doxed founders. So to these upcoming entrepreneurs, like, what do you think? Like, is there a reason that someone should be or should not be doxed? Like, this is just off the top of my head. I'm just curious, what do you guys think about this?
So I don't really have any, like concrete thoughts on this, right? Like when we started, like very frankly, being Anon was not an option. I think at that time, Anon culture wasn't that big in crypto, and so we didn't think too much about being Anon. I think it picked up after like couple of years in general, especially with Sushi Swap and other projects, for example, and then like it kind of grew. But in general, like there is a certain mystique to being like an Anon founder, for example, right? Like so, I think it's a great storytelling opportunity if you have Anon founders, for example. So it creates this sense of mystery around you. So I mean, it's perfectly okay. Of course, like storytelling must be combined with product as
I
well.
heard I heard chori telling.
Yeah. But
Nothing
yeah,
like nothing like chori in the anon
I'm
stuff.
not. I'm not gonna explain that. I'm not gonna explain that to people.
Yeah, I think like this the world we are moving in, anon personalities, having multiple anon personalities on chain and all that is going to be the norm, and I think like everyone should embrace it. As Anurag was also saying, that there is a mystique and a lot of youngsters want to do it. So and I am a big proponent of freedom also. I think I am a big believer of to each his own, and or her own, and I am perfectly fine with the non-founders also. Although I also feel that that it's a little bit like if you have a very small and completely crypto degen company like a DeFi protocol or something, probably it's okay and it's easier. But then once you actually are doing like a VC funded company, and like you want to go to like the exchange listing process and all those kind of things, I think there it starts becoming difficult. So you are not really anon. Like basically, you will have to submit your KYC docs and all that. Otherwise, you cannot do. Let's say you can't take VC funding without doing a full KYC of the founders and all that. But if you want to build completely and truly on-chain companies, like DeFi protocols and all that, I think that's there. It's a fair option to do it.
Yeah. It's
That's
also an
interesting.
extension of what is happening overall, right? Like, I mean, in social media, you already, I mean, regardless of being a founder, there's so many Anons out there, for example,
Correct.
who create a lot of identities in general, some for to very great effect, for example, Polinia and, like others,
Yeah.
for example. So I think it's a mirror extension of that movement happening with founders.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I know, like Sandeep, you mentioned earlier that one of the biggest things about how you guys went along was the fact that you would joke around, right? And of course, like since you guys worked together a long time, I think I'm just curious, like, what exactly did you pick up from each other? And basically, what I'm trying to ask is, how did you kind of influence each other's career path inside the company or outside? Like, how do you think that happened?
I think so. Initially, when we started Matic, right, like we had very strong, areas of responsibilities, like different, which were different, right? Like, so all three of us, me, JD, and Sandeep, used to share different responsibilities. And I've seen like Sandeep, like handle the business side. Of course, like he's also used to work on the tech side as well. But like I've seen his journey from, like frankly, we were unknowns, relatively unknowns in the space, right? Like we came from a small team in like India, which and we didn't have access to a big investor network. We struggled around for funding for a long time, but I think I've seen him go through that whole business journey, literally do a lot of hard work, right? Like, I mean, it's meeting a lot of people, handling payroll, getting funds, for example, and so on. Of course, um, like all three of us, like did some of this, but like I have seen his journey from where we started to, like where he's at the moment. So I have always said that, like I have immense respect for what he has done, because building out that operational organization, right, like the business side organization, coupled with, it's a tech product, right? Like, I mean, you have to juggle complex infrastructure, and you also have to manage community, for example, and then there's a bunch of stuff that goes around for founders, which most people on Twitter won't know, that goes behind running a company. And so I think I've seen him go from where he was to where he's right now. And so I think a lot of things I've learned from him in general. And like on the Avail side, like for somewhat curious reasons, I am now the business co-founder in general, because my fellow co-founder Prabal is, like he's a PhD from ISI Kolkata. So I am the less technical founder here. So I'm applying some of the lessons that I learned from Sandeep here. So
Thanks
yeah.
for the kind words, Anurag. And for me, like, what I have learned from Anurag is basically the product thinking. Like, we always, like, I and JD always, always thought of Anurag as, like, a very product uh, focused person. And whenever whatever, like, Anurag's mindset is, like, whatever he sees in the world, his mind is processing it, like, what can be a product for solving this problem. He's a problem solver, right? And he wants to build products to solve world's problems. And that's a very interesting way to see. Like, I think if you spend like 1 hour with Anurag, like, randomly, and he will give you like multiple ideas that you can do this, you can do this, this is required. Even in blockchain space, I think Anurag has a lot of like ideas around like how the system will evolve and ecosystem will evolve. And what kind of products can be built which will have future value accrual and all that. So I have I also try to learn that and see in the future. But it's like a little bit harder also for me, because Anurag and team, they are very deep into the product. And they can see the trends much earlier. but I try to imbibe that as much as possible. Plus, Anurag also has a very calm personality, right? So with his team members and all that, I think you guys know. I don't need to tell you that he's like generally very calm and composed, very well spoken and everything. So that also I've always experienced and try to learn from a distance.
Yes, that I know about Anurag sir. Like every time like I see his text, very straightforward, very calm. So I really appreciate that. The quick question, like you guys
Once
both
in a while,
talk.
Naruto, once in a while, he can also be like a little bit. So be careful.
I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen that yet. I've
Okay.
been just working for a month,
Give
so
it time. Give it time, Naruto.
Yeah,
I'll get
don't be.
to that
All
one.
I'm saying is, don't be complacent. Like keep working hard.
For sure, for sure. So quick question is like, you guys talked about one moment where you were raising funds and the market went down, right? What was it like when you raised your first round, the seed or pre-seed you were raising? And like, what did it mean to you guys as co-founders and friends who've been working together for a few months, something that you haven't told in public, anything that you guys did, partied somewhere, went to Dubai on a yacht or something?
That's the only thing we couldn't do, right? We just kept working, kept working, kept working. By the time, like after 4 5 years, like something happened, and we were like so zombied out by that time. Like I don't think like we could enjoy any of it, and we kept working like that itself.
So,
So
so the money didn't change anything for you.
Yeah, I mean, one thing like when I was mentioning about Anurag also, like one thing I've always said to everyone that I always so I'm talking this about Anurag also, that Anurag is very genuine person, like especially when it comes to money matters and all that. I've never seen Anurag like uh, driven by money and all that. Like he's driven by let's say like this product mission and all that, that I want to build this and all that. And like I've seen so many of these like things Anurag will not even care about. Like people we try to be penny wise and they will negotiate and all that. Anurag will be like, yeah, yeah, whatever, like it's okay. He'll just see the bigger picture and all that. And I think that is true for to a large extent for me and JD also. And money basically, like, see, money did not change. Obviously it changed our comfort level, right? But then that for that you need little bit, very little money, like just to all of us, we came from very like mostly humble backgrounds. And many people don't know, like for the longest time I think we drew like $1,000 a month salary from Polygon, right? And Rag, like for the first 2 years. And then after we actually none of us really drew salary from Polygon, right? By the time we could have taken a little bit more salary, than Polygon did so well. Then so I think even now I draw like zero salary, and I think Anurag and JD were also not drawing any salary. So and then from where we came, once like Polygon started doing a little bit well, then we already like crossed that threshold. And beyond that, after you cross that threshold, beyond that, like nothing adds any additional value. And any additional value to your life, like you can't be eating gold every day, right? Like you can't have like you know
For sure.
this thing. So there is not really, it doesn't add too much to it. Like all you I cherish is like I can provide a very good life for my family, my parents, my my son now. So that's the only satisfying thing. I think apart from that, like I don't think like anything changed for us. Like we still like hustle hard, working like 10, 20, 15 hours a day. uh yeah. So, and I think we'll keep doing that even if like this increases more, like doesn't matter. Like, I think for us it's like mostly like game points now, right? Like it's more like this money or this like whatever token price and all that, these are like gaming points. Like if it happens, great. If it doesn't happen, anyways, you are playing the game and having fun in the game, right? I don't know what Anurag you think.
no, no, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, initially, I mean, see, we were not initially like when Sandeep is saying that we used to draw a salary of 1,000, and yeah, I mean, we didn't change that too much later on also, right? Like so. I think the point was not like of course, you need to have enough money to like put a roof on your head and like eat and stuff like that. And of course, we the quality of life has gone up, for example. But like we don't spend like crazy. I am not seen JD or Sandeep like do any of that stuff, for example. And yeah, he's right, like I mean, like you can't spend your life like shopping, like and buying expensive things all
Expensive
the time
stuff.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just like, to be very honest, especially life as a founder is pretty exciting, because you get newer levels every time you play the game, right? Like it's mostly like a game now, right? Like, so now the point is to find bigger games to play, and so I think that's really it, right? Like the joy of playing the game matters more. So especially of those of you who play games, like I play a bit of Dota too, right? Like I just play it for the fun of it, right? Like it doesn't like the journey has to be great, right? Like I mean, even
Yep.
I
Yep.
wrote in a tweet maybe a week ago that eventually one day we have to die, right? Like, and so essentially the journey has to be great. That's all we can do.
Yep, yep. And I'm sorry, Kirike. I know you might ask a question. I just have a very, very quick follow-up. When you guys were working at Matic, like, first 12 months, you guys were all in, or did you guys have like your day job, or, like that kind of stuff? Because a lot of founders do their day jobs as well. So were you like just completely into Matic, or was someone working on a different, profession as well?
I think 2017, when kind of when we started, I think we were doing something else at the time before starting Matic, but then we decided to go all in. We actually raised a small amount. I think probably 50K or 100K. I don't remember the exact amount, but like it was some amount that we kind of decided to go all in. I think Sandeep shut down his company as well, for example, and so on. So I don't think we kind of continued with. I don't remember to have continued with the. Like I was doing actually a startup, so I just had to switch. But yeah, Sandeep.
Yeah, same. I think only like Anurag, once you also joined, like immediately. I think I remember like you said like I need to take like 30 to 60 days or something, and while you will wind it down and hand it over to your other co-founders and all that in the company, and then join full time. I think that's the thing. I We were all like I and JD were basically before already a little bit in crypto, so yeah. I mean, we were already all into that. That okay, you have to do it. And Rag had to also like wind it down, but I think it's mostly every one of us were after the first 1 month. I think 30 days, like everyone was fully all in into that.
Okay, Curate, now you can go. I'm so sorry. I was just very
No,
curious about that.
I think those
I'm
are
just
great
thinking about
insights.
it I'm also thinking of like those auto rides with the team. Like we all even had an apartment, like 4 5 people, 6 people lived in that
Yeah,
apartment.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they had, like auto with 4 people in one single auto, and then going that, like that just comes into my mind. And I used to listen that extreme ways of that song. What's that? Jason Born Identity song, right? Like so in that, like like we are going on a mission or something every morning. Just reminded me of those days. Yeah.
No, I remember. I mean, even at the time of the Binance listing in 2019, we went to New York, if you remember, right? Like for consensus, and we didn't have money to buy the tickets. It was very expensive at that time, and so we just kind of put on our Matic t-shirts, and we were just like strutting around in the lobby, prominently displaying like Matic on our t-shirt, and like just meeting people
Speaking to
in the
everyone, like
lobby.
whoever is coming, speaking to everyone like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, that was also a crazy day. Yeah. And I remember like where we stayed also on Rag, like that was very depressing. Like I stayed in 20 days, like it's like some dark place, costs
Some kind
about
of motel or something.
yeah, not motel is also even better. Like this was like a dark place, like rooms were also like even the lighting was not good and all that.
I think
And
it was an Airbnb.
I had
Yeah.
to stay for like 10-20 days there, and then yeah, I came out depressed from there. Like yeah, that was too much. Like we should have been a little bit more open on that. Yeah, we were being like to at that time we had already raised funds also. Like our launchpad sale had happened and all that, but we are in simple terms we were just being Indians that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We still, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you can take the guy out of India, but you can't take Indian out of the guy, right?
yeah, yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
See, exactly.
So now that you've talked a little bit about starting Polygon, I'm just curious, Anurag, like why exactly did you start Avail, and do you think like how does it complement or diverge from Polygon? And now that it's 2024 and hindsight is 2020, do you think that is the right thing for you to do?
I think so. Avail is like a slightly different protocol in the sense that like it's its own L1 blockchain with its own like network, for example, and like at some point in time, like Polygon, like we ended up having 8 or 9 different products, and in general, it's difficult for an organization like Polygon. Is also new, right? Like it's a startup in the sense it's not a small startup. But it's still a startup in the sense, right? Like, and so for any organization to handle like 8 or 9 products, right? Like, I mean, if you kind of look at it, like, so there's Polygon POS, at some point in time, there was Edge, Supernets, like Hermes, Zero, Maiden, like Avail, Nightfall, ID, for example. And so it's just very difficult organizationally and operationally to kind of manage all the needs of each project within one organization, right? Like, and so I think it was prudent to like bring Avail out into its own organization, and because it's also a slightly different product, like from the L1 perspective, it's also useful to differentiate because the Polygon branding is very much like Polygon ZK EVM and the CDK and the like and the other products that it has, right? Like, so it was useful to also separate the brands a bit. um, and also, like, if you kind of look at it, Avail is this permissionless data scalable data availability layer for all rollups. So certainly, like we integrate with Polygon CDK rollups and the AggLayer, for example. But it is also important to like have credible neutrality. So there is a lot of different reasons behind the move.
That's understandable. I think
I mean,
that's what I thought.
I just want to get spicy a little bit. So, I mean, you mentioned different reasons. I just want to know what do you think was your primary best reason that you had to do it?
Is there a question for me?
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the primary best reason? I think, see, primarily I would say in general, at Avail we have this opportunity to kind of build this platform for like the entire industry in general. And of course, like Polygon also builds infrastructure for the same. But to be very honest, the L2 space is competitive, and there's a lot of players in the space. So it's useful to kind of like be more credibly neutral and work with a lot of organizations. For example, of course, like we work very closely with Polygon. We have like very great plans for integration with the AggLayer, for example, and so on. So there are more overlaps than it might seem so. But like in general, the idea was to kind of like work with a cross section of the industry. Is how I would put it. I don't know, Sandeep, if you have any thoughts to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there are like a lot of synergies on that front, and I think I remember that back in 2020 when not many people were thinking about data availability, and Rag was that that time very bullish about data availability, and and I think like since then Anurag has been working and thinking about that in that direction. So I think he always wanted to do the data availability thing, and we also thought that in the long run when we will have roll ups, maybe it will be interesting to provide them data availability kind of functionalities also within Polygon. But then like I think Ethereum, because we want to be like purely Ethereum layer 2 at Polygon, I'm saying. So we kind of like had a lot of discussions that now that Ethereum mainnet is doing data availability things, should we be doing our own data availability thing, or what should we do? And so there were like multiple discussions, and that's why like I think like that was also one of the things that we said that maybe for the Ethereum community we want to make Polygon like fully focused on Ethereum. And Anurag has always been very big proponent of data availability blockchains and all that. And Anurag said that I would want to do it and pursue it full capacity. So we were like very happy, and I think everyone was happy. And then uh, and yep, like all kudos for Anurag to keep building it and bringing it at this place.
Okay, that was like that's something that we wanted to know. Like how it turned out when both of the entities separated. So, quick question to you, Sandeep sir. Where do you see Polygon moving with AggLayer? Because we have moved from POS, from Matic Network to POS, then to zk, and now we have a new narrative, AggLayer. Like what's your vision behind it, and what do you think where it will be heading in next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
Yeah, see, it's like from day zero, our vision has always been and mission has always been that we want to be a part of this new internet that is being created, right? And all these chains, like whether it's Polygon POS or it's like any other like public chain, they it's like it's like saying that they are like all these chains are kind of like these small sometimes we say that city networks, right? Or you can say even like some of them who have become bigger, like Polygon peers and all that, they are kind of like nation state networks, but they are not the internet. The internet was the connection of multiple of these individual small networks in each of these countries or cities or organizations into one single this thing. So this has always been the mission. And Polygon Ag Layer is basically like it took us a long time building zkVM, doing this, Anurag experimenting with data availability, multiple other founders in Polygon doing different things and research and all that. And after that, like we have reached this place that which is this place where this is the architecture we think scales web3 to the scale of internet, where you can have like as many number of chains, like infinite scalability. You can have like 10, 20, like thousand, I'm saying, like hundreds of thousands of chains, probably even million chains. And this kind of network is kind of like how internet looks today, right? Like if you have a mobile app or a web app, they have their own servers, they have their own, like as Anurag puts it, like microservices. These microservices interact with each other and all that. Like when you want to launch a mobile app, you don't go to Facebook and say that, hey, can I put my app also in your shared servers, right? And these are all like the current blockchains are kind of like shared servers, where all the applications are hosted in one place, and one application is going through a crazy day or like crazy number of users. All the other applications, their costs are also increased and all that. So how we see the world growing is that and this is my thesis also, if and when this cross chain interoperability is sorted, like with more security, why would any application would want to exist on a shared server? The way today the web 2 applications don't live on shared servers, at least they live on shared data centers with virtualization and all that. like these layer 2 chains are nothing but this virtualization of like your own app servers, and all you need is more trustlessness, like trustless guarantees, and seamless interoperability between these chains, and then it starts feeling like one single chain. So that is the mission of Polygon. That AggLayer is essentially, you can think of it, you can think of AggLayer as a parallel computer which has infinite parallel cores, right? Infinite number of chains connecting to them. Like right now, parallelism or parallel blockchains is a big narrative in our industry. But actually, if you see, AggLayer is basically a infinitely parallelizable machine, and you can have, like, let's say, extremely fast chains, like let's say Solana, right? Or any other blockchains like people are building. I would say that those are like, these chains are basically one large computer. Let's say, Solana is like a mainframe, or even like super optimized, and it can be a supercomputer, but it is still not the internet. And what we are trying to do with AggLayer is that, can it be a component of this the internet that we are building, where as we say, infinite scalability, unified liquidity using this aggregated proof, and using Ethereum as the settlement layer, and obviously using data availability chains, like Avail and other thing, like, because Polygon is more agnostic about the data availability chains, right? So that's the mission behind it. So it's not a narrative, like Naruto always says, like, now Polygon is in this narrative. He said that, then he said, no, narrative mission. Yeah. So,
I was just pointing what I like thought
no, no,
of
no.
like
So,
coming out.
yeah, I mean, and this is like, somebody actually tweeted, like some prominent other blockchain also, like Polygon switches narrative and all that. Problem is that, what we have also learned is at Polygon is that it's not about the narrative. Like, we have so many things going on, like this parallel blockchain, while Anurag was itself like parallelization, when Anurag was still in the leading the product team, we implemented, like, I think we are the first or maybe the second chain who has parallelization in production, right, on
But you
Polygon.
have not publicized it, right?
And then we say, like,
Yeah.
people are like, you are switching the narrative because parallelization narrative is hot. But
I think I remember that tweet.
you asked, like, which chain survived this blob stream time, right? Like, basically, on some of the layer ones, which are EVM layer ones, the fees went to like $400. On some like many other chains had to, like, tons of blockchains actually crashed. Polygon POS took, and none of these blockchains have even 1/5 of the traffic. Like, we had 20 million blob subscriptions. The maximum any other chain could sustain was 5 million. So we had this. But like this again, like this, coming back to this aggregator thing, and I want to leave our last 2 minutes for Anurag also to say, it's a long monologue, but basically the aggregation is basically the end game of Polygon. Like, after this, there is nothing else. Polygon is about aggregation. If this works, that's where Polygon wants to go. If it doesn't, then that Polygon failed. Anurag, over to
No, I
you.
mean, I mean that was great knowing about aggregation. I mean, it's certainly not a narrative, and we are all excited about aggregate coming out as well. And since we are on the theme of aggregation and unification, I guess it's obvious the question that I need to ask is that in the broader context of blockchains and the things that we already have, what does unification mean to you, and kind of the blockchains that you guys are building?
Yeah, I mean, as Sandeep said, right? Like, I mean, so we've been like, see, these ideas don't come overnight, right? Like, these are all we problems that we think of over and over again. Like at Polygon, when we were kind of like in the starting to build the ZK EVM, we realized that, like, of course, like the ZK EVM, like, there will not be one ZK EVM rollup. There would, like, the code would be commoditized and there would be stacks. And so now there are not like there's not one ZK EVM chain. There will be like probably, I don't know, like 150 CDK chains coming out, or maybe 1,000 chains coming out, right? Like, I mean, so essentially, so as Sandeep was saying, right? Like, I mean, see, in blockchain architecture, we are making the shift from one, multiple apps on one single big supercomputer, to that of like apps living on their separate servers and scaling independently based on demand, right? Like, I mean, so that's the architecture that the internet apps on the internet took, and there is no real reason why it shouldn't happen with blockchain. Of course, the difference there is that the way of connecting these servers, or the verified servers, or in this sense, needs to be trust minimized, for example, right? Like, so those are all the problems, the infrastructure problems that needs to be solved. Because when you go from something like very like a Solana like ecosystem to a more distributed ecosystem where there are these different roll-ups, and so necessarily there is fragmentation. And fragmentation, or not all fragmentation, is bad, because not all apps have to talk to each other all the time, right? Like, I mean, when you go to the internet today, right? Like, if you go to an Amazon is in the backend is this complex set of microservices that are working, not only from Amazon, but like Amazon will talk to a Stripe or a Visa, for example, and these are like deployed separately, and but they come together to solve a particular business problem. And the users are not used, are like don't know what, don't not exposed to the complexity here. Right now we are at that stage of blockchain architecture where like we are somewhere in the middle, where this newer architecture is being like transitioned to. We have now a bunch of rollups now launching with creative new use cases, for example. And the plumbing on top of this is still being is being built. Now the answer to this before, when we wanted to connect two blockchains, different blockchains together, was by some way of like bridging and so on. But what has happened over the last 3 years is this, like massive maturity in ZK VMs, particularly, which has allowed us to kind of like do this, have this shared notion of security, or shared notions of execution, validity, for example. And so that enables us to now truly unify this fragmented ecosystem. And so these are the tools that are used by like Avail, like Nexus, which we build on top of Avail DA, for example, in order to because we actually bring in a very useful property to this problem, because we focus on data availability, which is actually a ordering service for rollups in general. We are able to kind of bring these ordering proofs into the picture, and then combine these with execution proofs, right? Like, and so that's why we kind of, as I mentioned, very like we kind of are complementary to an AggLayer, because like AggLayer does the job of like aggregating CDK proofs, is also adds a layer on top which can talk to non CDK chains, for example. And we are figuring out ways in which like Nexus and AggLayer can work like together, because essentially like both of these are important. Like the proof aggregation is important, validity condition checking is important, ordering proofs are important. And so I think, see, the thing is that, of course, this is a massive problem to be addressed, but no single project is going to be able to do it. And like rather than fighting on Twitter about like each other's product, it's best to kind of work together to like as Sandeep said, right? Like, I mean, this is like where blockchains come into the picture, is this like building the next generation of trust systems. And so we are kind of playing our part in enabling that future.
That makes total sense. I mean, I think you guys might also have seen JD's interesting tweet about building aggregation of aggregations. I was wondering what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, see, everything is going to be aggregated, right? Like, I mean, essentially, like the beauty of ZK or validity proofs is that, like, till now in a ZK rollup context, ZK or validity proofs exactly have been used for like compressing computation or execution in general. But they also have this property where you can actually use them for composability, and because of the recursive nature of it, right? Like, so that is only becoming better known now. In general, we have been kind of thinking about this at Polygon, before at Polygon, but also at Avail now for a long time. And so like everything is going to be, whatever it can be aggregated will be aggregated.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought that that was a very it was a little bit, funny for me. Like, oh, you have so many aggregation layers now. You have a super chain thesis from optimism, then you have avail signification. So like, JD is writing, oh, I'll aggregate all the aggregation. So it was a little bit, like very interesting to know. So like now moving along from these aggregation conversation, quick question from both of you would be, what do you think of like these projects that are building something similar to yours? Like, again, it can be super chain thesis, it can be ag layer, unification layer, anything. There's Omni Foundation doing something similar. So what do you think, and what do you think is your head start here? Some light on that, if you can, like put some thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, just to before we proceed, right? Like, I mean, Sandeep, do you have to
Yeah.
get to another call?
I think I will have to jump on another call.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I also have to jump off on another call.
Yes. We'll
Yeah,
finish it off with like one final thing, whatever you guys, like want to give advice. Then we'll just move to like something which is more on like advice to your young entrepreneurs, or like people who are building in blockchain. We'll move to that then.
Yeah,
yeah.
Anurag, you start.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I think. See, basically, a lot of people, uh, for justified reasons, misunderstand the crypto industry. I mean, of course, there's a lot of um, uh, like maybe not that good behavior in the crypto industry, but there's a lot of high quality tech that is being developed. Like like especially if I say consensus systems, zk proof systems, for example, and so on. And all of this technology is going to play a much more wider role than just in blockchains, right? Like for example, something like zero knowledge cryptography is going to be used much beyond blockchains, and a lot of this is around building trust systems. So I think basically young people and young founders should really look at this industry seriously, like look deep into it, because there's a lot of opportunity here for building these systems out. you know um, like in traditional tech, for example, right? Like there's like most industries which have reached a maturity, there is little innovation that you can bring to the table, for example, right? Like, so I mean, not I'm not saying just for blockchain, there are other emerging industries as well, but my general advice is play in fields that allow you, like some outsized differentiator, right? Like, I mean, essentially, like my personal philosophy is that you should always play at the intersection of two different fields, which I think Peter Thiel famously said. And I think blockchains is this very great industry which has this intersection between like distributed technology, cryptography, game theory, finance, like even social. It's basically about economic and social coordination. So there's a bunch of things here, and like if you are able to kind of operate at this intersection, there's a lot of opportunity. So I would say look beyond the usual opportunities.
Yeah. I think QEDK, your question was regarding like general founders or crypto founders only.
I think primarily crypto founders is better. That's the audience we have.
Yeah, with crypto founders, mm, I would give a very like relevant. I mean, I would like to give a advice which is very relevant currently, like in this current situation of the market,
For sure.
and partly something that I want to kind of uh, you know uh, grow in my skill set and all that, is that, and this might be like already true for the US founders, because this thing is basically generating or kind of learning the power of storytelling. Because in crypto, the problem is that products have their own cycle of, like, products take like years to build, like, and then users and usage takes years to build. Whereas like crypto narratives, they always run like 2-3 years in advance, right? Like something is launching, and then people are already anticipating what will be the future, and basis that, like, they are doing all this kind of stuff. So as founders, then it starts creating unnecessary pressure on you, your tech teams, and everything. And I think if you have a good storytelling, and kind of you can interact with the masses, right, in a way that you can communicate your story and your vision and your path to where you want to go. I think that adds a lot of uh, I would say, initially, like, obviously, like, valuations to a lot of these projects, that makes your path much easier. You now have more incentives to incentivize people to build on your products, and you have like less pressure from the community and whatnot, if you are able to project a coherent story, and people know where you are going. Otherwise, like, there's a level of chaos in the community. I always say, like I've said publicly, that at Polygon we have not done a great job at that, because we've always, like, Anurag said that at one point we were like 7-8 projects, because we wanted to get to an architecture which scales it to that scale, right? We are never interested. Even now I'm not interested to, like, to build something which works in the middle term, because doesn't really motivate you day in day out, right? You want to build that, okay, this is the architecture which can work from 10 years from now, and now you want to, like, work day in day out for next 10 years on it, and you get the benefits of compounding out of that, right? So that is one thing. But as I said, like, very relevant and concurrent advice, not concurrent, but like the concrete advice I would give to the founders is, try to have a better story. Like, we should have told, like, even if like Polygon POS was there, we should have been able to give this story, that, okay, this Polygon POS is like first chain, we will have multiple chains in this architecture, in this system, and then there will be future systems which will allow multiple chains to be created and run in a trustless way, and the capacity will be infinite, right? So infinite capacity, basically. So we were never able to, like, I think that comes to me only. That was my job, and I never was able to, kind of never focused on that. Like, not even able, I never focused on giving that coherent story. So yeah, that's my advice.
No, I think that's certainly great advice. I think as a founder, a lot of people kind of take the technical details for granted, and they don't think long term. So, I mean, that's certainly very helpful. I think with that, we come to an end of this edition of Hot Takes Live. I would just like to take a moment to thank Sandeep for being here. Like, you really took time out of your busy day for being here, and as well as Anurag. Pretty sure both of you had much better things to do now. But I mean, I'm just happy you guys are here. That's all I can say.
Yes.
But I have a good suggestion. QEDK, like Naruto, you can just call him like DK.
Oh, hey,
That's bro. That's
good
just like,
suggestion.
I'm
Good
only going
suggestion.
to call him DK now. Yeah.
Good one, sir. Okay,
Sandeep
so
sir,
we'll
you call him whatever you want. Yeah, it's cool.
Easy to pronounce. Like, that's the only reason. That's the only reason. Like, because it's easy to pronounce.
we
There's no
know
other
what it means. We know what it means. Cool.
Like,
So we'll let you go. I know you guys have a lot of things. Thanks a lot again.